Okay, it's been a second since we've done a Falcons video, and not that long, but at the same time, Falcons fans, you're not wanting to see videos, and we've always kept it positive here on this channel, and we want to give you a non-biased view of your team, so I'm going to give you the good news. I'm going to give you the reasons to be optimistic about this team. I'm going to look at history. I'm going to look at your current position, where your team is at. I'm going to look at your quarterback. I'm going to do it. I'm going to look at your quarterback and tell you why it's not as bad as you might think. And I'm going to go from there. But before we get into that, I have a question for you. Before you hear my spiel, before you hear my take on it, do the Atlanta Falcons need to replace Kirk Cousins right now with Michael Penix? Do they need to do it right now? Or do you let Cousins play out the season, see what he's got? That's my question. That's my question to you. And my other question is, what is your confidence level? Give me on a scale of 1 to 10. Put it in the comments right now. What is your confidence level that the Falcons are going to make the playoffs? So we're going to get into all this news. First, let me make sure you all know where you sit. Right now, you are in second place in the NFC South. The NFC South is the priority and what you are actually going to win if you are going to get in the playoffs. I think it is more likely that you win the South than the wild card. The wild card is not easy. When you look at the wild card, you're sitting behind the Commanders at 8-5 and the Packers at 9-4. You are 6-7. You got the Bucs at 7-6. Here's the other advantage of this schedule. I've talked about it in the opposite way when we talk about the Bucs. The funny thing is with this channel, we talk about teams that are more ignored by the national media, and it feels like the entire NFC South is in that boat. So they just don't have big, like nationally drawn attention markets. And so the Falcons, it's the opposite with them, is that you have the tiebreak over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You've swept them this year. So even if you have a worse conference record, even if you have a worse divisional record, even if you have a worse net loss points total, which, by the way, you might not be as good in all those categories, no matter what, if you end the season with the same record as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you win the division. The only way that doesn't happen is if the Saints get to 8-8, you all finish 8-8. Or I'm sorry, 8-9 or 9-8 or whatever that looks like, because obviously we're in a 17-game schedule right now. So Kirk Cousins came out, and here's what I love about Kirk Cousins. Look, he's been around this game for a long time. And he has always done it a certain way. He has found success wherever he has gone. It hasn't been perfect. He has had difficult stretches where he's been in different places. He's had difficult stretches in Minnesota. He's had difficult stretches. And usually what it goes back to is, how often are you utilizing play action? And are you putting him in a good position to succeed? He's never had a massive arm. He's never had tremendous legs, all right? Those are actually getting worse this year. I admit to that. But he's never been this guy that's relied on those things. He's always relied on this right here. He's always been a guy who throws interceptions, and when it gets bad, it can get bad. But when it is good, it can get good. And there is a lot of talent around him on this team that you can lean on. But you also have what Kirk Cousins said. And here's what he said, and this is why I have a great respect for him. He said, you certainly have a process that has worked and has enabled you to play well, and so you trust it. Cousins said when asked about his game prep. He said this, though. I think you'd be foolish, though, to just blindly stick to something even when you know, hey, there's clearly a fundamental we need to improve on here. So it's both. It's not you completely blow up your process, but at the same time, you say, hey, clearly there's something in my decision-making or my fundamentals or the way I'm seeing the field or the way I'm playing the game that it needs to be improved or tweaked. So let's look at doing that. He's not this quarterback that's 36 years old that's saying, look, this has always worked for me. This is always going to work for me. Don't tell me to do something else. Don't do that. And for me to say that I respect Kirk Cousins, like, that's hard. He's a Michigan State Spartan. As you can see by what my attire is here, I'm a Michigan guy. Look, we're Lions fans. We haven't hid that on this channel. And so we're from Michigan. So that's only natural to be a Michigan fan. But he goes on to talk about, that's why you have TJ Yates, DJ Williams, and Zach Robinson to help you on that journey, on that process. That's where I would say kind of the quarterback room is like a working force together, because you're saying to Michael and to Nate, what do you see? What do you think? So we're all kind of pulling together to lend perspective. All right? Raheem Morris has been nothing but behind his quarterback. We understand the struggles. We understand it. But maybe also we're starting to understand that quarterbacks are expensive. You need one, but at the same time, maybe we're starting to understand what they were doing in the draft. All right, but here's what I will say. And this is what's interesting. When you look at games, when you look at teams, generally the best quarterback wins. The best quarterback wins. And like that's how it goes 50% of the time, over 50% of the time. It is a big advantage to have a quarterback. And when you look at this 4-game losing streak, all right, you played New Orleans. I get it. 2017 loss. You got stomped by Denver. I know. All right. Then you have LA and Minnesota. So he goes to his former team, gets beat. All right. Sam Darnold's having a career year for him. Justin Herbert, come on. Like the defense, however, every other game is still playing really, really well. Now look at your closing schedule. And this is where I think more good news happens. You go to Vegas. They don't know who their quarterback's going to be right now. Ritter? Maybe? Then you go to New York. They can't win. All right? They don't know who their quarterback is right now. All right? Maybe it's this guy. What are you going to do? All right? DeVito. You have one game that you shouldn't be favored in, and that's going to Washington. And Washington in the middle of the season did the same thing that Atlanta's doing right now. They were a team that looked like they were ready to easily be in the playoffs. I mean, just like Atlanta, it was 6-3, and then they dropped 4 in a row. All right, Washington was 7-2, and then they dropped 3 in a row. Now, they won last week. I would expect Atlanta to get back on track on Monday night versus Las Vegas. Here's another thing about Kirk Cousins that isn't normally said, right? I'm going to give you 2 more things on it. He's actually good on Monday Night Football. He's good in primetime. There's this belief around him that he's not good on primetime and not good in the playoffs. He's got game balls galore from primetime. He was really good on primetime for the Vikings, all right? Even with the what were at the time Redskins. All right, so he's good. Second, let's talk about this process. Kirk Cousins has always had a unique process. He's a Christian, and so he believes firmly in a day of rest. That's one of the things for him. On the 7th day, God rested, right? So he believes firmly in a day of rest, and so he has always taken that on Mondays. And he plays the game on Sunday, and then that next day, he takes it off. No football whatsoever. It's what he's done throughout his whole career. I don't know if he's doing that or if he's not. I would say if he's not, this is going to sound counterintuitive. Get back to it. That's his foundation. That's his roots. So maybe think about something like that. But I still, when you look at the schedule, when you look at the fact that you're 1 game behind, 1 game, which is really a half a game behind. That's all it is. Because you have the tiebreaker over the Bucs. That, to me, says, okay, here we go. This offense has proven that it can score. Think about it. It has proven that it can score. Week 4, 26 points. Week 5, 36 points. Week 6, 38 points. Week 8, 31 points. Week 9, 27 points. All right, this offense has put up big numbers. Rely on the run game. Let Kirk Cousins do his thing. And even in the last game against Minnesota, a lot of yards, but also interceptions. So anyways, I think you got it. Next 4 games, it's time to prove it. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.